everything Cooper thought he won in episode 2 is about to flip on him fast, hard, and without mercy. Because episode 3 isn't coming to play, it's coming to collect every single consequence. He tried to outrun Landman season to episode 3. Is shaping up to be the moment where the story stops teasing danger and finally drags every character straight into the fire. And honestly, after what we saw in episode 2, none of this feels surprising. Cooper struck oil. Yeah, but he also struck something darker, something that doesn't let people sleep at night. And episode 3 wastes no time showing that the price of that luck is already coming due. Because the episode opens with Cooper trying to pretend everything is still under control. But you can practically feel the panic crawling under his skin. He's hiding the truth from everyone, including himself, which is honestly the worst person to lie to. But you know what they say when life starts spinning too fast, the lies usually fall apart first. Cooper's first reality check comes when Tommy confronts him again about the $8 million loan. And this time, the fear in Tommy's voice is way louder than the anger. He knows exactly who Coop is tied to now. Andre Garcia's shadow is all over this storyline. Even before he steps into a scene, this man is not a lender, he's not a businessman, he's a storm, and Cooper walked into it thinking he could come back out untouched. Tommy tells him point blank, "You didn't make a deal with a bank, you made a deal with a man who buries his problems in the ground," and Cooper just stands there wide-eyed, trying to hide the truth that we all know. He's terrified. And honestly, good, he should be. But the heartbreak hits even harder when Ariana enters the picture again. She's done pretending, done hoping, done standing next to a future that doesn't belong to her. In episode 3, she becomes even more distant, even more cold, but it's not cruelty, it's survival. She tells Cooper she started feeling safer without him than with him. And that alone feels like a punch straight to the chest, and you can see Cooper crack. Because he didn't just lose her home, he lost the one person who made that home feel like anything at all, and instead of fighting for her, like you'd expect from someone who claims to love her, he freezes. It's like he already knows she's right. The money changed everything, and the sad part is, it hasn't even arrived yet. While all this is happening, the pressure on Tommy builds in the background like a slow, creeping headache. Episode 3 dives deeper into his grief, but not in a soft emotional way. It's messy, it's frustrating, and it makes you uncomfortable in a good storytelling way. Tommy keeps running from his feelings, trying to hide behind work, responsibility, and maybe even whiskey. But you can see the cracks forming around him. Losing his mother didn't hit him the normal way, it hit him sideways, reopening childhood wounds he never healed from. And episode 3 forces him to face all the pieces he's avoided for decades. The real punch arrives when Tommy finally decides to confront Garcia's men directly. Not with violence, not with threats, just a father trying to undo a mistake his son made out of desperation. But desperation never moves criminals. Garcia's men remind him in the coldest, straightest way possible, your son belongs to him now. A sentence like that can break a man, and it breaks Tommy a little right there on screen. You can see the guilt flooding in. All those years he avoided being a real father. All those memories he tried to bury, suddenly they come back like ghosts pulling at his throat. And episode 3 uses that moment to shift Tommy's entire trajectory. He's not running anymore, he's not avoiding anymore. He's stepping back into the father role even if it's already too late. Meanwhile, the women of this show are dealing with their own explosions. Cammie's storyline gets even darker as she discovers more of Monty's secrets, files hidden behind files, debt buried under debt, and deals so dirty they stain everything they touch. She realizes MTX isn't just unstable, it's rotting from the inside. And in episode 3, Cammie finally admits something she's been too scared to say out loud. She doesn't trust the company anymore. She doesn't trust Monty's legacy, and she definitely doesn't trust herself to fix any of it. When she tells Tommy she's thinking about selling, you can see the shock hit him like a brick. Because if she walks away, the whole operation collapses. Cooper's wells, the refinery, the debt, the cartel, it all becomes one giant, unstoppable crash. And somewhere in all of this chaos, Cooper tries to convince himself he can fix everything at once. His relationship, his debt, his future, his father. He's juggling fire with gasoline hands. Episode 3 is the turning point. The moment he finally realizes that every choice he made is now standing in a straight line, waiting to destroy him. And the worst part, he still thinks he can outrun it. Episode 3 picks up that tension from the very last second of episode 2, and stretches it until it practically snaps in your hands. And the wild part is, no character even realizes how fast things are collapsing around them. Cooper walks into this episode thinking he still has time to fix Rihanna, time to fix the money problems, time to somehow outrun a cartel he didn't even mean to get involved with. But the truth hits him early. Time is exactly what he doesn't have anymore because the deeper he gets into this oil world, the more it starts feeling like a trap designed long before he ever showed up. And every step forward just sinks him deeper. The first major shift comes when Tommy finally forces Cooper to sit down and face the reality of what he signed. You can practically hear the disappointment dripping from Tommy's voice when he tells him the paperwork was never meant to help him. It was meant to own him. Cooper sits there reading that contract line by line, and you can see his face slowly drain of all hope. This isn't one of those business deals where you can negotiate, argue, or buy your way out. This is a chain, and Andy Garcia's character is holding the other end with a grip that doesn't loosen. Tommy reminds him that men like Garcia don't send warnings, they send messages. And the only reason Cooper is still breathing is because Garcia sees him as an investment, not a threat. Yet, Ariana's storyline cuts into this with even more emotional heaviness. She tries to move forward, to focus on her baby, to stay grounded in the simplicity she craves, but Cooper's chaos follows her like a shadow. Episode 3 shows her coming to terms with something she's been avoiding since the start of the season. Loving Cooper means living in constant fear. Fear of losing him. Fear of watching him self-destruct. Fear of watching the world he's chasing swallow him whole, and she's tired. She tells her grandmother she feels like she's choosing between the father of her child and the peace she desperately needs. The heartbreaking part is, no matter what she picks, she loses something, and you can tell she knows that already. Her storyline becomes a quiet storm, less yelling, more breaking on the inside. Meanwhile, MTX Oil's situation hits a boiling point. Cammy is unraveling faster than anyone expected. Episode 3 shows her digging deeper into Monty's files, and every layer she uncovers reveals another lie he left behind. You can literally feel her betrayal through the screen. She spent years believing she knew the man she married, but every document is another reminder that Monty lived a double life. One half was the charming oil tycoon everyone trusted, and the other half was a man drowning in corruption, debt, and dirty partnerships. The worst part? Some of those partnerships weren't even finished when he died. They're still active, still dangerous, and still waiting for someone to collect. Cammy goes to Tommy for answers. But the moment she walks in, you know she's not asking for help, she's asking for a way out. Her voice cracks when she asks, what if the company I inherited was already doomed? And Tommy doesn't have an answer this time. There's no comforting lie he can give her, no half-truth that would make her feel better. MTX is in trouble, real trouble. And the more she learns, the more she considers letting the entire legacy burn rather than trying to save it. She's exhausted, angry, and betrayed all at once, and Tommy sees it. That's when Tommy makes the choice that finally pushes the plot into a new direction. He realizes saving Cammy, saving Cooper, and saving himself all connect to one thing: the refinery. The heart of the entire mess. The refinery Cooper built is the one asset everyone wants, and the one thing Garcia will never release. So Tommy's new mission becomes painfully clear: take control of that refinery before Garcia does. And the only person who can buy it fast enough is Cammy, but pitching that idea to a grieving, overwhelmed widow who's losing trust in her own company? That's like asking someone standing in a burning building to carry more gasoline. And just when you think the emotional weight is enough, Episode 3 throws another curveball. Billy and Sam's storyline slips back in, but this time Sam isn't just the quiet guy watching sunsets, his patience is cracking. Episode 3 gives us a glimpse of his frustration, his simmering anger, and his desperation to be taken seriously. And Billy? He senses something brewing under Sam's silence. Not trouble yet, but definitely the start of something that could explode later. Maybe not in Episode 3, maybe not in Episode 4, but soon. Conversation echoes with tension. Every decision feels like the wrong one. Every character is balancing right on the edge of disaster. And what makes Episode 3 so compelling is that none of them, not even Tommy, truly understand how dangerously close they are to losing everything. Episode 3 continues tightening the grip around every character until it feels like they're all running out of air. And the moment that really shifts the entire energy of the episode is when Cooper finally realizes he can't hide anymore, not from Tommy, not from Ariana, and definitely not from the cartel. For the first time all season, he stops pretending he can figure it out later, because later is gone, later already turned into danger. And Episode 3 pushes him into a position where he has to face the truth. He's been dodging since the moment those wells struck oil. He isn't in control anymore. He's in a story someone else is writing for him. The real tension starts when Garcia's men finally show up in person, not with guns, not with chaos, but with something way scarier: calmness, the quiet kind, the kind that tells you they don't need to raise their voice to ruin your entire life. Cooper opens the door expecting a threat, but what he gets is a smile. A polite reminder that his first payment is due sooner than he expected. And that smile, that's what breaks him because it tells him everything he needs to know. These aren't men he can negotiate with. These aren't enemies he can fight. These are people who see him as property, as leverage, as a tool they plan on using until there's nothing left of him, and Cooper just stands there, nodding, trying not to look terrified, even though every part of him is screaming inside, and while Cooper's drowning in silence, Tommy is drowning in guilt. Episode 3 pulls him deeper into his emotional unraveling, showing that the wound between him and his father wasn't just a childhood memory. It shaped every bad decision he ever made. Tommy goes back to CTL again, but this time there's no angry shouting. It's quiet, almost awkward. TL tries asking if he's okay, and Tommy can't even answer, not because he's angry, but because the words won't come out. Grief has him locked in a chokehold, and it's messing with everything: his judgment, his patience, his ability to handle the storm coming for his family. Episode 3 makes it painfully clear that Tommy is a man who holds everybody else together, but no one is holding him. Meanwhile, Cammy reaches her breaking point. Episode 3 gives her the moment viewers have been waiting for, the moment she stops pretending she understands the business her husband left behind. She confronts Rebecca about the files she found, and for the first time, she demands real answers. Not the polished lawyer talk, not the gentle reassurances. She wants the truth. Rebecca tries protecting her, telling her some things are better left alone, but Cammy snaps. She tells her she's done being left in the dark, done being treated like a fragile widow, done pretending Monty was the hero everyone said he was. And that's when Rebecca finally cracks. She admits Monty was hiding things, big things, dangerous things, deals that weren't supposed to see daylight unless someone died. And now that someone is dead, everything he buried is clawing its way back up. And then we get the moment that ties all three storylines together. Cammy storms out of the office and runs straight into Tommy, who can immediately see how shaken she is. She tells him she wants out, not tomorrow, not next month, not after the lawsuit now. She wants to sell the company, sell the land, sell everything Monty ever touched, and Tommy freezes. Because selling the company means handing over the only leverage they have against the cartel. It means losing the one thing that could save Cooper. Tommy doesn't say that out loud, but the fear in his eyes says everything. And for the first time, Cammy sees it. She looks at him and realizes this isn't just business anymore. This is survival. Episode 3 then shifts back to Cooper, who finally breaks down enough to call Tommy. He tells him straight up, "I can't do this." And Tommy, already drowning in a dozen problems of his own, tries to steady him. But there's this small, heartbreaking moment where the roles flip. Cooper, scared, overwhelmed, exhausted, asks Tommy the one question Tommy hates more than anything: "Why didn't you teach me better?" And Tommy just sits there in silence, because the truth is he didn't. He never taught him how to survive in a world like this because he never believed he'd need to. And now they're both paying the price. But episode 3 doesn't let Cooper stay broken for long. The moment Garcia's men leave, Cooper makes a decision, a reckless one, a desperate one, but a decision nonetheless. He heads straight to the refinery, walking the entire site like he's memorizing every inch of the danger he created. He's trying to find a way out, a loophole, a hidden door, something, anything. But all he finds are reminders of how trapped he is. And that's when he decides to do the one thing he should have done from the start: tell the Norris family the truth, not the version he sugarcoated, the real one, the cartel, the debt, the contract, everything. Episode 3 builds this moment so slowly, so painfully, that by the time Cooper finally speaks, his voice is barely steady. He admits the whole story, expecting Tommy to explode, but Tommy doesn't yell, he doesn't curse. He just takes a deep breath and tells Cooper something that cuts deeper than any anger could. "You didn't just put yourself in danger, you put all of us in danger, and now we have to fix it together." Episode 3 shifts into a whole different gear once Cooper finally admits the truth to the Norris family. Everything that had been simmering under the surface suddenly bursts wide open, and the vibe of the entire episode turns sharper, colder, and way more dangerous. Because now it isn't just Cooper quietly drowning on his own. Everyone is being dragged under with him, and the crazy part? None of them even get a second to breathe before the next wave hits. Episode 3 knows exactly how to stack tension on top of tension until the whole thing feels like a fuse burning toward an explosion nobody can stop. Tommy's reaction becomes the emotional anchor of this section. He doesn't yell, he doesn't explode, he just goes silent. And that silence hurts more than any shouting ever could. Cooper watches Tommy's face stiffen, the pain settling in his eyes like a weight he can't hide. It's that kind of pain only a father feels when he realizes his son went to war without him and came back wounded. But underneath that pain, something else is beginning to form, not anger, resolve. Tommy isn't the type to roll over and accept defeat, and episode 3 makes that very clear. He tells Cooper that if Garcia thinks he owns him, then they'll have to find a way to change the rules of the game entirely. Meanwhile, things back at MTX oil spiral into chaos at a terrifying speed. Cammy tries to keep herself together, but episode 3 pushes her past her breaking point. She's barely holding onto her sanity after learning Monty's secrets. And every new detail just cuts deeper. She goes through more of Monty's files late at night, and the more she reads, the more she realizes what kind of man she married. Someone who built an empire on borrowed time. Someone who made promises to people who don't take no for an answer. Someone who hid the truth because even he was scared of what he had created. And what makes this part of the episode so heartbreaking is that Cammy isn't dealing with corporate problems, she's dealing with betrayal. She looks around the office that's supposed to be hers and feels like she's living in someone else's crimes. And the episode shows how lonely that kind of grief is, not the grief of losing a husband, the grief of losing the version of him she thought existed. She starts breaking down in the middle of the office, quietly, silently, the kind of crying someone does when they're trying to stay in control but failing miserably. But episode 3 doesn't let that emotional moment linger. Because right as Cammy tries to collect herself, Rebecca walks in with urgent documents, more warnings, more deadlines, more complications. And the tension between the two women hits a boiling point. Cammy snaps and tells Rebecca she's done being polite, done being shielded, done pretending she understands what she inherited. She wants the full truth, all of it, no sugarcoating, and for the first time, Rebecca admits what she's been hiding. MTX is in deeper trouble than Cammy ever imagined. There are deals Monty signed that put the company at risk. Deals that tie directly into off-the-books partnerships. And deals that, whether intentional or not, brush against the same world Cooper is now entangled in. This is where everything starts connecting. The cartel, the wells, the money, the refinery, Monty's secrets, Cooper's debt. It's all part of the same storm nobody saw coming until it was too late. Back at the Norris house, Tommy finally steps into the role he avoided his entire life. The leader, the protector, the father, and episode 3 gives him one of the strongest scenes of the season. He sits down with Cooper and tells him something he's never said out loud before. You're my son. And that means your problems are mine. It's raw, it's vulnerable. And it hits Cooper so hard he can't even look at him. But Tommy doesn't stop there. He starts outlining a plan, a dangerous, reckless, borderline ridiculous plan, but still a plan, because when you're fighting men like Garcia, there are no safe options. Tommy explains that the only way to get Cooper free is to take control of the refinery. Before the cartel moves in, if they control the asset, they control the leverage. If they control the leverage, they control the negotiation. And if they control the negotiation, maybe, just maybe, they can rewrite the terms before Garcia tightens the noose around Cooper's neck. But there's one massive problem. They need someone with money, serious money. And that means Cammy, the same woman who just decided she wants to sell everything and disappear. This realization hits Tommy like a punch to the gut. Because convincing Cammy to buy a refinery she barely understands, while she's in the middle of a personal collapse, is nearly impossible. But Tommy doesn't have the luxury of easy anymore. So he does something that shows just how far he's willing to go. He gets in his truck, drives to MTX, and walks into that building like a man ready to drag fate back into his own hands. Episode 3 gets its most intense scene when Tommy and Cammy face each other again. She's shattered, frustrated, angry at everyone and everything, and Tommy is the last person she wants to see. But he tells her the one thing that finally stops her from walking out. If you sell this company, Cooper dies. And the room goes dead silent. Cammy just stares at him, confused, shocked, terrified. She had no idea how deep this went. She had no idea the cartel was involved. And now her entire world shifts again. She's no longer dealing with corporate problems, she's dealing with a life or death choice. And episode 3 masterfully ends this section with something chilling. Cammy doesn't say yes. She doesn't say no, she just whispers, "What did Monty get us into?" And for the first time, Tommy has no answer. Man, the way the dust settled after all that chaos. You could feel something ugly shifting under Landman's world, like the ground itself was warning everybody to back up before it swallowed them whole. Everything that happened tonight didn't just expose the cracks. It blew the whole damn foundation wide open. And the wild part, nobody's even processed it yet. They're all still moving like nothing changed, when in reality, everything just flipped. Because the second Wes walked back into that yard with that look in his eyes, that cold, steady, "I'm done playing with y'all" type stare, that's when the real danger kicked in, the kind of danger you don't hear, you just feel creeping up on you. And the man didn't even have to say a word. His silence said more than a whole board meeting ever could. The way he stepped past those workers, past the trucks, past all that flashing emergency light. It was like he already knew this night would turn into a line nobody could ever cross back over. And that's what got everybody on edge, because Wes ain't operating off orders anymore. He's operating off instinct, off survival, off vengeance. And folks in this world know one thing: a man who stops caring about blowback is the most dangerous man you'll ever meet. And every single person in that yard could see that switch flip behind his eyes. Even Tatum knew. She kept trying to hold it together, but her voice was shaking, her hands were shaking. Her whole damn future was shaking, because deep down, she realized she didn't just open Pandora's box, she kicked the lid clean off. But the real twist? It ain't even Wes or Tatum that people should be scared of. It's the part nobody's talking about, that body they're trying to bury under paperwork and excuses. The accident that ain't no accident. The chain reaction that's about to move through that company like wildfire once the wrong person starts asking the right questions, and trust me, someone already is. That quiet investigator they thought was just doing routine checks. Yeah, he didn't leave the site tonight. He stayed, watching, listening, matching every lie to every detail, like he already had the truth in his pocket. And when he caught Tatum slipping with that one shaky answer, the look on his face changed, real slow, real subtle. Like he just found the missing piece to a puzzle he didn't even know he was building. And instead of pressing her, he let her walk away, because smart people don't interrupt lies, they collect them. Meanwhile, Tyler is trying to act like he ain't scared. But that boy's whole spirit is rattled. He keeps replaying every moment, every shout, every spark, every wrong decision. And he knows deep inside, if anybody's mistake comes out first, it's gonna be his. And once that happens, he ain't just losing his job, he's losing his freedom. But the crazy part? Tyler ain't the type to take a fall quietly. The second he feels the heat, he's gonna drag the whole crew with him, kicking and screaming. And that's exactly what might blow season 2 wide open. Then there's that last moment. The one nobody wants to talk about but everybody felt, when Wes finally stopped walking, stopped thinking, stopped holding everything together, and just stood there staring into the dark, like something out there was calling his name, not a voice, not a person, more like a warning, like the universe itself was whispering, "You're about to lose more than you save." And that right there, that's the part that keeps viewers hooked. Because Wes ain't the type to break, but tonight, something inside him cracked. Not enough for anyone to see, just enough for him to feel. And when a man like that starts slipping, even a little, things around him start falling apart. Fast. That's the storm building over season 2 episode 3. That tension nobody can shake off. That threat everybody keeps pretending ain't standing right in front of them, and deep down, they all know the truth. This thing ain't stopping. Not now. Not with lies this heavy, secrets this dangerous, and pressure this loud. So as the night finally settles and the yard goes quiet, and everybody tries to pretend tomorrow's gonna be normal, there's one thing they all share but won't say out loud. They're scared, because this wasn't just a bad night, this was the beginning